Welcome to More Than Renovating, a renovate and real estate podcast. Our founder, Belinda Smith, talks to industry experts to provide you with the knowledge and information you need to make renovating for love and profit your reality. Belinda will also chat to some of her Renovation Mastery members, who are just everyday people doing extraordinary things, following their passions in the renovation and property space. So, let's jump straight into the episode. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, I'm Belinda Smith from Renovate and Real Estate, and I'm going to welcome Amy Page to my podcast. This podcast is called More Than Renovating because there's just so much more than the actual craft of picking up a paintbrush and painting walls, so much more to the whole thing, our life, our surroundings, our family, our finances, our state of mind, the whole lot. So my special guest today is Amy Page. Amy and I have worked together just recently, really closely for around about 12 weeks, and we'll go into that a little bit. But Amy, start by telling your story. Welcome, Amy.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here today. My story. So, in terms of property investment, it's been something that I have wanted to do actively my whole life. My husband and I have done a number of renovations together, and we've got quite a strong base and a portfolio of investment properties. But I'm now getting into an age and stage in my life where I want to do it a lot more dynamically. And I was really looking for an opportunity to turn it from sort of something on the side to becoming much more active part of our life and part of our investment portfolio and strategy.
So to add to that point, I know that when we first spoke, you had and still do have quite a significant role, like a corporate role that takes a lot of your headspace and your time.
Yes,
And
I do.
And so do you think that, when people feel under pressure at work, when there's a lot expected of them at work and also juggling home life, do you think that renovating becomes an attractive prospect, or how did you see it as an out?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've had a corporate job. I've been a corporate marketeer for over 20 years now. I've had big jobs in global companies. I've worked in London for a long time and then back here to Australia over 8 years ago. And I think as I've evolved as a marketeer and also as I've changed with our family situation, we've got 2 children now, I could just see the struggle of trying to make it all happen on a day-to-day basis with the big job, family, life, sport, everything. My husband travels a lot for work, so I'm on my own 80% of the time. And I felt that the pressures were just getting too much for me. And I can see that renovating and getting further into real estate as an opportunity for me to buy back some of that time with my family, but also develop me mentally as well. I don't want to stand still, and I can see that there's so much for me to learn in a new industry, but it's a really great partnership with my current skill set. I can see with my planning expertise and my budgeting, my spreadsheet management, all of that, and the project management skills are really transferable across into renovating.
I watched you straight away just really focus on whatever was at hand. So number one, we started to really drill down on what area to buy in, and you started to do some very, very good research. And I'd give you bits of homework, like go and do a feasibility on this location and what makes you like that location. And you just did the work and did it really well. So that's your background and your skill set that, I think people don't judge what they have in their everyday lives and the skills that they learn through their workplace, and how it's so easily transferred into doing, say, property research, number one. And number two, just organizing the renovation. You were on fire. It was great to watch you. And, we'd write the list and think about all the possible things that could come up. And yes, we still forgot some things, and you tackled those things as well. The highs and the lows, the last minute finance going through, all of those things became part of your last renovation. So let's talk about your last renovation just a little bit. So
Yes.
started to work together. You really started to drill down in what area you wanted to do a renovation in. The purpose of the renovation was to hold a property or to flip. What were you thinking in those early stages?
In the initial stages, I was thinking to flip. But then as I started to do my numbers and as we started to evolve through the process, I started opening my mind up to the possibility of keeping it and kind of pivoting into a different strategy as that evolved, which has turned into short-term lets. Initially, it was very much to flip.
Yeah. And then as it evolved, when you started the renovation, already you were pretty well set on doing Airbnb letting because they were, or that formed some of the basis of the decisions that you made on what
Yeah.
to spend and where to spend the money on that apartment. And
Yes.
even at the end, we did a big check-in where you did map out the figures from, now and a few years' time to work out whether you were making the right decision by holding that property for the long term. So I really applaud you for doing the work. A lot of people gloss over the figures, and I think the numbers, I always say the numbers don't lie. When you can, should I sell this for a flip or should I hold on to it long term? When you've got the numbers there, it kind of answers your questions for you.
Yeah, it does. And I think for us, it was the CGT that was eventually going to kind of kill the opportunity to flip it quickly. I think
Yes.
that's something that we'll explore in a year or so and just get a better understanding of how short-term lets is working for us. And if it is working, then we'll obviously hold and maybe try and refinance so we can take some equity out, try and go again. Or we'll look at selling it at that point, and the CGT is obviously 50% less after that first year, so that it will give us an opportunity to go into a different project.
All right. So you decided to do an apartment.
I did,
And the
yes.
reasons you decided to do an apartment is that you're
Well,
terrified of lawn.
yeah, it was very simple actually, because I didn't have a huge budget. As I said, we've got other investment properties, so I wasn't coming into this without other debt that I had to take into account. I had other debt that I had to service and the banks know about. So it was really down to what I could afford, and my budget was around 500,000, which, as we know in the world of property, isn't that much. But that didn't put me off. I was, rather than focusing on a nice 3-bedroom house and doing a reno on that, I was like, right, then all I can afford is an apartment. So that's what I'm going to focus on. I went to one of the meetups actually, and one of the through renovation mastery, and one of the ladies there said to me, find something that is close to where you live. She said, you're a busy mum, you're working. She said, that's my number one piece of advice to you, is find something close to where you live. And I actually looked at some other properties further up the M1 towards Brisbane, and they were townhouses, 3-bed townhouses, 2-bed townhouses, and they were great. And I could see the huge potential that I could add to them. But on a Saturday afternoon, after we sat in an hour and a half worth of traffic and we came home, I could see very quickly that that wasn't going to be something that I would be able to sustain even throughout a renovation. So, as part of the coaching that I did with yourself, we sort of pivoted from looking a bit further afield to really focusing on what I could find around me. And again, there wasn't that much. The market was moving incredibly quickly, and I had to really reframe. I always wanted a 2-bed. I had to quickly scale that back because I could see that that wasn't something that I could afford. So that's essentially how I narrowed down to 1-bed units.
Yeah, I think it's so important to choose a renovation that you can, handle's a weird word, but that you can accomplish. And you had to factor in, yes, your kids, yes, your busy lifestyle, and that you were going to tackle this project predominantly on your own. So you
Yes.
have a beautiful, supportive husband. You
Yeah.
knew that this was pretty much your baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you really were in charge. And
Yeah,
so
definitely.
yeah, so in the end, it was how far away from where you live?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. But it
Yeah.
still ticked all the boxes of growth potential, of
Yeah.
good schools, good employment, good transport, all of those
Yeah.
things that you just can't leave behind. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it definitely ticked all of the boxes. And conveniently for my family, it was actually 5 minutes away from my kids' school. So much to their delight, they had to come with me many mornings before school to site
Good for them.
to meet up with tradies and also do extra trips to Bunnings and procure everything that we needed to. But yeah, the unit definitely ticked all of the boxes. Yeah, it was hard to buy. I didn't really understand how difficult it was to purchase a property, especially in the market on the Gold Coast at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think the first weekend when I went to some open homes, because you just said to me, go out and see as much as you can, just go. And I did, and there was like 30, 40 people at these open homes, and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I didn't expect it to be that competitive. But I didn't let that put me off.
No, you learned the hustle, and it takes some hustle in markets like that to get your foot on a deal, and you did. You did. I'm
Mm,
really proud of you. And you worked hard at it, like you kept making those phone calls at nighttime, kept in touch with the agents, kept looking
yeah,
at listings, kept working on off-market properties and just
yeah.
looking at whatever you could, just letting everybody know what you wanted and what your price point was. So
Yeah, it
well
definitely
done.
doesn't just happen by searching realestate.com at night time.
No.
That's not at all how you find property.
Yeah.
You have to really knuckle down, and it becomes almost your full-time job is to just focus on what you're going to buy next.
And it becomes your full-time job focusing on what you're buying next and hustling for that property, but only for a few weeks, because then
Yes,
you land it. Then you land it. Then you don't have
you
to
do.
think about that for a little while. So
Yeah.
when you landed that property, that's when we started to work together with tossing around the possibilities. Let's call it what it was. Teacher, who was the master, I don't even know. We were just saying, what if we did this? What if we did that? You were reaching into all of your ideas bag, and I was reaching into my ideas bag. And I'm so proud of the renovation that you put together. You just nailed it. And for anybody who wants to see the photos, I think I'll put them up on Instagram. I'll just contact Alana. This will be on Instagram. You'll be able to track them down, or if you can contact me and I'll make sure that you get sent the photos. The befores and afters are just extreme, just really, you did all the right things. And we did explore the possibility of doing a full-on rip everything out and renew bathrooms and things like that renovation, compared to what it would cost and what our returns would be, your returns would be, if you just pared back the renovation a little bit and use paint as your main go-to, refresh the kitchen, pull out all of the things that were dated and tired, and refresh and renew. And you did a great job.
Yeah, and it was an amazing transformation to see it from this dark, dingy, horrible blue and yellow 1997 unit to, a beautiful modern coastal space, which it's a really pleasure to be in it now, whereas before it felt icky and yuck.
Yeah, I remember the photos, and yeah, it does feel nice. And so say if you put that up on Airbnb, looking as attractive as it does, that is going to rent out. Like out of the units in that block, that is
Yeah.
going to be right up there when people look at those photos and click on the place that they want to stay at for their holiday.
Yeah, definitely. And that's been a whole other learning curve, actually. And I think what I found challenging as I went throughout the process is it wasn't just about doing a renovation. It was actually about setting up the appropriate structure for how I was going to purchase a property from the outset, and
Yeah.
obviously working with your contacts. And I think that was a big sort of chunk of the challenge. And then the next chunk was around how I actually did the renovation and how quickly I could get it back into market. And then the third part was, okay, do I keep or flip it? And then the decision was made really quickly to keep it. And then I've had to go and learn all about short-term lets. And just today I figured out how to link my calendars between two different rental platforms because I kept getting double bookings. And so it's a constant learning challenge every day to make sure that I can now excel into that short-term let space and provide a great product for the guests that I'm hosting.
Yeah, who should suggest that apartment, that particular place, to all of their friends and family. And if they're repeat visitors, then you're right. A lot of the learning curve is right at the beginning. When you start to get established and once you've done things once, it just becomes more second nature. And your own personal brand and also the brand of this apartment will sell itself. Let itself. Yeah. So, okay. So how did you feel at the end of it?
I felt an immense sense of pride. I was so delighted with the process, with the end product, and with what I can actually achieve when I really set my intentions and write a kick-ass to-do list, which I do every day, and just set my mind to it. I now know that I can actually achieve anything, and things that I used to be scared of or a bit more anxious about before, I'm just tackling, learning, using the internet as a resource and growing from that. So it's been an amazing process. And I actually went to the unit this morning because I was just getting ready for the next guest. And I just walked in and I was like, gosh, you achieved this in, I think we worked together for 3 months. So in 12 weeks, 4 weeks of reno, but 12 weeks of working together to go from this is just an idea in my mind to now I've actually done it and it's live and it's listed. It just feels, a huge sense of achievement and pride.
I think we bit the elephant off bit by bit. So every week we met and it was like you clearly identified what was coming at you and then we'd work out what you needed to do. But it was all you. You would do your list and you would make sure everything was done. And we would laugh at some of the things that were happening hard and fast. The emotional roller coaster is real, but you never really became frazzled. You just, I guess that's where your background really helped you. You just kind of knuckled down and just got through a list. But we can all get through a list if we don't allow it all to send us a bit, crazy or to worry us too much. So I just love the way you work through it. You were very, very efficient at renovating, or at least attempted to be as best you can. What was your biggest frustration out of the whole renovation?
For me, it was just trying to manage family and temper little people when they don't want to be there and you have to take them again. I think that was probably one of the more challenging things. I actually found I wasn't doing anything structural, so this was a full cosmetic renovation. So I didn't need a builder per se. I needed the other trades on site. So that made it easier in some sense because I didn't have to have a builder. I could do a lot of it with Airtasker and a handyman and kind of nut it through it together. So that's probably something that I'd like to do for my next one is to get more involved in actually having a builder on site. But yeah, definitely the challenge is just trying to manage daily life around it.
And that management of daily life around it, did that most impact you? Let's talk about the kids and how they rolled their eyes every time you say, let's go. That was for how long? About a month? Or
yeah, it was 4 weeks of renovation.
4 weeks of renovation.
They also came to a lot of open homes with me, which was an eye-opener for them.
Don't worry. I took my kids to New Zealand for 4 days. I don't even know how many houses I took the poor kids through. They said, I thought this was a holiday. It said it is, but we're looking at it while we're here.
Yeah. Well, one of the houses we went into, there was a man sleeping in the bedroom and they were both in complete shock that there was someone there. So yeah, it's been a good learning experience for them.
Yeah, no, it's good. You know what it is for them though? It's a demonstration that their mum, Amy, set her mind to do something she really hadn't done before and tackled it full on. And, the good and the bad and the happy days and the exhausting days, you got through it. And, now they get to see a beautiful apartment and say, yeah, mum did that.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to be able to provide them with the skills that they're going to need one day to renovate their own properties or to be able to make money from property. Because to me, it's such a powerful tool and they have the benefit of time on their side. And as we all know, time in property is the biggest key to success. So that will, if I can at least teach them about that from an early age, then it will set them up for success. And what's going to be a really tough market for them to buy in, hopefully they'll have some of that kind of nimbleness to be able to navigate it.
I just think that we just set such a path for them when we demonstrate the possibilities. There are a lot of kids out there who think they have to buy new and we can't afford new, or we have to buy something that we just want to move in ready and we can't afford to do that, so we're out. Whereas kids who grow up with people who renovate can see the potential. You show them that there's potential in buying something that's undervalued or not so polished and you can make it your own.
Definitely. And that's how my husband and I originally started in London. We bought a flat. It was an okay condition, but it had this potential to what you do in England is called a loft conversion, where you go up into the loft space
Yeah.
and you do a full dormer on the back and you make it a bedroom, bathroom, and a huge space. And that's what we did. And we did with absolutely no money. We had a lot of naivety. And looking back, I don't actually think we started with a budget. I think we just started to knock down walls, which in hindsight probably wasn't the best thing to do, but we turned that from a 3-bed flat into a 4-bed flat, and it set us up for the rest of our lives, the profit that we made on that property. And when we moved out to Australia, we sold that particular flat, and it's absolutely set up the path for our life now. But we had a lot of struggles. We had at one stage, it's funny when you talk about it, but at the time it was a bit traumatic. We had no toilet for 6 weeks. And at one stage, we'd knocked through the
Don't.
external wall of our house and we couldn't afford the doors. And we waited 6 months until we could afford doors. But that's a very cold London winter without doors to a house. But it brought us close together as a couple, and we survived that renovation and we did well from it. But I think that builds resilience. And I think it taught both of us, you don't start out living in a beautiful $1 million house. You have to sort of start out, work it, grind, and make your way to the top. It's not just going to happen naturally.
To that point, you used to do more hands-on renovating than you even did in this apartment. How dirty did you get, Amy?
Look, I can't sugarcoat this. I didn't get that dirty at all.
I know. I want you to confess it to the world. You
Look,
barely
if
raised
you
a
can
sweat.
get someone to do it for $350 a hair tasker, why bother?
That's the best. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I know.
like
I was a bit of a
yeah.
princess. Did do a lot of the demo to start with and ripped up all the 30-year-old carpet, which was quite disgusting.
Yeah.
But really, that's not my skill set. So play to your strengths. And my skill set is the procurement, it's the budgeting, it's keeping everything on track, it's telling everyone what to do. I'm good at that. But it's not swinging a hammer. And that's okay.
That's
That's
okay.
fine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
exactly.
My husband did step in and help me. He is incredible on the tools. However, it's not his primary job. And whilst he was amazing at helping me, I could see to the end of some of the long days that it was probably getting to the end of his tether. So I think that's probably a learning for next time, is just managing how much I ask him to do and probably leaning back from that a little bit and not relying him to put up curtains. Again, I can get an air tasker or handyman to do that for me for $350.
That's right.
I don't want to stress him out. He's got a huge job and he doesn't need that extra responsibility.
In his part-time. Okay. So I really like the way that you're okay with that, because a lot of people, they feel like they have to be involved all the way. And by be involved in all of the painting, all of the pulling out, all of the cleaning, scrubbing, all of the everything, all of the making, curtain making, all of the and it becomes too tiring. And you whipped through that in 4 weeks and
Mm.
didn't sweat. Except maybe a couple of times.
Yeah, I was going to say to start with we did, but no,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's okay. I'm happy to admit that I'm not a tradie lady.
I know. I used to laugh about it all the time. While we were working together, I used to say, I'm not doing that. I go, okay. But, that's great. That's great. Everybody can do what they choose to do. So would you like to share the numbers? What you purchased
Yes,
the property
absolutely.
for, about what you spent on the reno and what it's
Yep.
worth at this point?
So we purchased it for 517,000.
Yeah.
We managed to get it prior to auction. I put in a pre-auction offer.
Yeah.
And 9 minutes before my finance clause ran out, I managed to actually go unconditional, which was a very stressful time for myself, my mortgage broker, the accountant, and my poor lawyer. Oh, and the realtor. We were pretty stressed. Anyway, we got it over the
And to
line.
me, because you told me
Yeah,
about it. So
yeah, I did.
was really
I rang
stressed.
you up and I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah,
Yeah.
so purchased for 517.
Yeah.
I spent 25,000 on the actual cost of the reno because I was setting up for Airbnb. That's cost around 5,000. I did a lot of my procurement on Facebook Marketplace. I found some amazing secondhand couches and brand new beds that were secondhand. And then my holding costs across that 4 weeks would be about 5 or 6,000. So I think all up, 35 to 40K was my total investment in the reno and holding.
Right. And so profit, if you had to say exactly the amount of profit, what's it worth now?
So first of all, real estate valued it at
Yeah.
630 to 600.
Fantastic.
And they were very keen to get it back on the market.
Yeah.
I've had it valued by the bank just this week, and they came in at 600.
Which is very conservative, because the banks are conservative, but that's fabulous.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep. But that's still great,
Still great.
80,000 additional for 4 weeks, which isn't too bad. And
20K a week.
Exactly.
Let's do the math.
At that point, then that's when I did the numbers on keeping or flipping, and I made the decision to keep him to go into short-term let.
Yeah, fantastic. It's a great result. So you bought the property, you added value to it. It's now rented out. When it's let, will the rent cover the mortgage repayments?
Yeah, look, I need about 70% occupancy. I've done a lot of work on air DNA, and that's kind of where I need to be able to clear my, obviously I've got body corp, hideous mortgage, and only because of the percentage interest
that
rate
will change.
and the rates, etc. So I need to be making about 1,000 a week to clear everything.
Yeah.
And I've been online now for 2 weeks with the property, and in October alone, I'm already up to 65% occupancy.
Ooh, okay, when it's brand new launched.
Brand new launch. And I have cut my price down to ensure that I attract some reviews.
Yeah.
So the profit is probably not quite there yet, but I know that I can see that it will be there when I've got my reviews flying and the money's coming.
And most probably well before Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
Fantastic. And you've got the holiday season. Brilliant.
Yes.
And it's in a
and
great
it's the
location.
property is, sorry, the property is 200 meters to the beach. So in terms of that kind of coastal Gold Coast lifestyle, it absolutely delivers to that. So,
and in terms of capital growth, it's, while you're holding it, it's growing. Your nest egg is growing. And then you can pull the equity out from that and go again.
yes.
Let's go, Amy. Let's go.
Yeah. And that's absolutely the next step, is to hopefully readjust that interest rate so that I don't have to, have so much going on a weekly basis. And then I will be redrawing that equity out and going again.
What did your husband say?
He was delighted.
Now that's all finished and everyone can breathe.
Originally I've been talking about doing renovations for a very long time. And we had a frank conversation one night, probably over a glass of wine or whiskey. And I remember him saying to me, with love, you're either going to just do this now or just stop talking about it, because you've spoken about it for so long, but you haven't done anything. So if you really want to do it, I support you 100%, and we've all got your back, but this is your time. And
just got chills.
Yeah, it was pretty like, oh goodness, I really had to kind of take that on. But I did. He was amazing. He did support me 100%, and he helped me throughout the whole process. He's amazing to work with me in the background and kind of mentor me, but not tell me what to do. He does it. He delivers it in a very nice way. But yeah, he's given me some feedback on things I can work on next time, which I very much appreciate. But he was really proud of what he and I achieved, but obviously me in the driving seat.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
They're words from him. You could have acted in two ways. You could have said, okay, I'm just not going to talk about it anymore. I'll keep my thoughts to myself and I'll keep watching the flipping shows at night time and keep about doing it. Or you could have found a way to make it happen, which is what you did. And that was you. Good.
And I think, we've been married. I don't actually know. I can't remember how many years we've been married. 14 years.
Yeah.
And, you don't choose a life partner just to tell you the good stuff all the time. You choose someone that actually can, you're a team, you work together. You have to tell your partner the good stuff and the bad stuff, and that's part of being in a partnership. So I really respected him for that.
That is brilliant. Okay, so if you had to describe your next property deal, what might that be?
I would love two options. So the first is, if I can't afford to buy another property now, then I'm going to look further into trying to do rent to rent with short-term lets. either here or potentially back in London.
Yeah.
And then my next one will be, I would love to do another unit or try and get into a house if I've got the equity to do it. But if I don't, I'm quite comfortable in doing units, flipping them over and getting that kind of turnover and experience so that I can build myself up to those bigger projects. So yeah, if I can get another unit, I will do that in the next year. If not, I'll be trying to expand into rent to rent with short-term letting.
So would you quit your job to do this full time?
Oh, absolutely, if I can, but I'm not there yet.
No hesitation. Absolutely.
I have an amazing job and
Yeah.
I love what I do and I
Yeah.
work with the most incredible people.
Yeah.
But I can just see long term, as your kids get older, they actually get more demanding in terms of time and there's more things that you need to be there for.
Yeah.
And I've just kind of got that vision into the future that I want to be there to support them through, rugby tournaments and netball and gymnastics and all the activities. And I can see that with a bigger job, I might not have the flexibility to do that. Whereas getting further into renovation, whilst it's full on, I'm not saying it's an easy ride. It's definitely not, but it may just give me a little bit more work-life balance.
Yeah, it definitely does. I was always the mum taking the team of kids to Coonabarra Brand to play cricket for a week or wherever because I could manage my property life around my kids' world.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long to make that transition if you so choose. And not
Mm.
everybody chooses to do it. A lot of people like to renovate on the side just because for a bit of
Yeah.
extra. Yeah.
Yeah. And as I say, my job at the moment's amazing and I do have a lot of balance in it. So that would be a hard one to ever
Yeah.
give up. But you've always got to make sure that one piece of advice that I've had is do something today that your future self will be thankful for. And I think it's just such great advice because doing this project with you and coaching with you has allowed me to take a huge step into a world that I've always wanted to get into. And I may be able to do it full time in the future, and my future self will thank me for it. Either way, if I do it on the side, my future self is going to thank me for it. So
You're absolutely wired for it. So you won't find it difficult to keep at it, I don't think. And to that point too, because you worked very hard and you took it very seriously, the real estate agents took you seriously. And so, even opportunities around that same apartment building will spring up. Just lots of things will keep coming and happening for you as you strive your way forward in this renovation world. It'll be
yeah, definitely. And it's amazing, even in the few weeks that I was looking, very actively, the agents are still calling me and saying, "Oh, are you under offer? I've got something coming up. I'd like you to consider it." So if I had more money, there'd be a lot more opportunity out there for me to go and do.
I'll get you some money. That's all right.
Okay.
There's money out there. Brilliant. Thanks so much, Amy. Is there anything you would like to add before we close?
No, I mean, I just, thank you for all of your time and coaching and assistance throughout. I think just having someone hold my hand gave me the confidence to know that I was making the right decisions. And I think one thing that you just did exceptionally well was you weren't, we were renovating on a budget, but it had to look amazing. And I think you came up with some great innovative products like the stick-on tiles and the wooden roll that we used on the front of the kitchen counter that weren't expensive, but just gave such an elevated look. And I think it was great to learn from you about those sort of budget-friendly tips and tricks that you can do throughout. And it doesn't have to be expensive. It just needs to look good.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, some of those ideas were yours too. I think we just scrummed down during our sessions and just, you had some suggestions, I had some suggestions, but it was a great apartment. It had really good bones and you had really good taste. And you just targeted the market very, very well with the type of renovation that you did. And it's not that difficult really when you break it down into what are we going to do in the kitchen and what colors work with what and what are we starting with? Are we going to do the floors? It's really not that difficult when you start to pull it apart and make decisions. And to compliment you, Amy, I coach a lot of people and some people will just talk all day long and go around in circles. And you absolutely just every week did small things or big things, but you did the things. You did the work. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you. And so that's it, guys. Thank you very much for listening in. And obviously, if you'd like to work with Amy in some capacity, or she's raising her eyebrows?
Absolutely.
What do you
The
mean?
Page Portfolio is my company name. Follow me on
Perfect.
Instagram.
Say that again, the page?
It's called the Page Portfolio.
The Page Portfolio. Follow on Instagram. Or if you can't find Amy, certainly contact me and I'll put you guys in touch. And if you'd ever like to join me in some capacity for some renovation coaching, it's something that I really love to do. And working with ladies like Amy just fuel my fire, keep me at it. So thanks so much, Amy. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Belinda.